Good evening, everybody. Uh, Happy Friday evening. Just working on my project here. I'm going to try to go a little faster than the day before. I put this together and it was way over 15 minutes, so try to speed through this a little bit, so I'm sorry for that. But either way, assignment number 3, engaging learning environment. Here we go. What tool or practice did I use in this lesson? I chose a Google Slides presentation with some lecture engagement from students. I talked about some healthy and unhealthy relationships in the class, characteristics of each, talked about how to resolve a little conflict as it's a part of our exercise, sport, and science 2 class, which is the premise of the class. Google Slides is a good opportunity for kids so they can have it's easily accessible for all of them, right? Why'd you choose this tool? I like this tool because it gives students a chance to follow along with the teacher, gives students a chance to use their iPad during the presentation, can follow along in Schoology so kids can have easily accessible. Schoology is our platform we use, so it's an opportunity for kids to just jump in right at, have access to. I can just put the PowerPoint right in there. Chose this tool because second week of the trimester, I wanted to not give the kids too much. So I wanted to get the premise of the class out there and explain the whole importance of the premise of this class. So that's why I went that route. And during COVID, it's difficult to get students to engage socially. So this is a start to get them out of their shell a little bit, start to talk and get them to feel comfortable through some of my stories personally. Kids think physical education is sometimes all about exercise. PE teachers can't, do a good job in the classroom, and that might be just cliche. It might be hearing things, but either way, I want to show what us teachers can do as well. So it's a good opportunity for us to show them that we can connect with students in a different way besides being in the gym and whatnot. It's also something that the students in the classroom as well can Zoom virtually and use this same introduction. We could talk to them as well, so it's another opportunity. So lots of reasons why I chose this tool. Why do you think it's effective for this particular lesson? Obviously, with COVID and distance learning, we're kind of in a hybrid model right now. And where we're at, students have had a hard time communicating anything during lessons. So, especially with masks, so it's one of those things that I thought, hey, let's give kids a chance to listen to me a little bit. Maybe get them to open up and talk a little bit, ask them some silly questions, but some good questions, and go from there. But understand the importance of pushing them still at the same time early in the trimester and make sure the structure is there. And I put in here with relationships being the premise of this trimester's class, it gives students a base to think about relationships they're in. Especially as ninth graders, we talk about lifelong relationships or short-term relationships, but how many times the relationships are going to change throughout their life. We want them to have an understanding of what a relationship looks like. And it's important for us that we start in this class here in ninth grade, especially as they travel through life and they start to mature a little bit. How does this tool improve your classroom management? For me, at the beginning of the trimester, we went to establish that structured classroom environment. I want to make sure it's set in stone that I've established the rules and what it looks like in the environment, especially within the classroom, because this is our second time technically in the classroom with this group. So it's important for them to see that. So we have a structured environment, and I want to make sure that people understand this tool, improves classroom management because I'm up in front. They're able to see me. They're spaced out, socially distanced. Their iPads are put down. There's no phones out. It's a chance for them to understand that hey, relationships are a big part of this class. They got to listen. And I talk about, within the 3 classrooms, I talk about 3 R's of Holly, which are very similar to my R's, because I do, like I said, the R's. I've told people this before in this class, that the R's of Rosemount or R's of student athletes or R's of students. We talk about a lot of R's, and I think they go along with my R's for class, which are respect, responsibility, and relationships. So it's respect, rapport, and relationships like Holly is. So this gives students a chance to keep their focus on the teacher, talk when they are grouped together, respect the person who's talking. All right, we're building rapport. I'm sharing stories about myself, my own life, my personal stories, so they can understand that I'm willing to share with them. Maybe they can open up about me. We develop, which is the third thing, that relationship. Fits perfectly into the lesson that we're talking about. So I use responsibility as well because I'd like to have kids perform a duty, and that's where this, for me, classroom management, what I'm talking about today, they get to evaluate their own relationship as part of my lecture. So it's really important for them. They understand that, hey, responsibility is a big one for us too, because their listening will directly impact the assignment from there. How does this tool support the concept of growth mindset within your classroom? I like to ask questions and get them, using their minds in different ways. So the use of appropriate questions can definitely get students to think about things in a different way. So it's a good thing. I use a little bit of scanning to look around, at the students' faces, kind of get to see what, it's quite difficult to see with masks, but I'm starting to get better at reading their eyes a little bit, which is kind of weird, but it's one of those things I'm starting to get better at. I never thought I'd have to say that, but I usually try to read facial expressions sometimes. So it's one of those things that seeing their eyes, I'm able to see things and kind of ask these questions through the growth mindset. So this tool supports growth mindsets by sharing stories outside their comfort zone. Okay, personal stories that get them to think about relationships they have, and I want to ask them questions that are of the growth mindset, like, hey, are your parents really there to help you? Are they there to help you? Right? More than your parents aren't there to hurt you. They're not trying to make you a terrible person. They're there to help in that situation. We want kids to learn about healthy and unhealthy relationships through a PowerPoint because it develops questions for them. And that's another big thing with the growth mindset for me, is trying to get kids to understand that. Sorry about that, everyone. I had to stop there since I had daughter come to the top of the stairs. Thought she was sleeping. Either way, jumping back in, questions that, or how does this tool support the growth mindset concept? It's one of those things that, like, I want kids to understand, like, my parents, are they challenging me to make myself better, right? Okay. Or, what are they doing to help me out? And how can I, make an impact? Okay. Or maybe they've taught me something, and how am I going to learn from that? And they have that mindset through relationships, because sometimes they look at relationships as one of those, maybe a fixed mindset. Oh, they're there to hurt me. They're going to make me a bad person. We don't want that. So growth mindset is a good opportunity in this context, that, hey, with using a lecture style and get them a chance to ask them questions about, maybe their parents are there to help you. They are there to challenge you, make you better. They're there to take the next step for you. They're not there to hurt you in any way possible. We'll get to this part in just a second here. I'm going to share my recording here. Assignment at the end, we're going to do an assignment called Evaluation of a Relationship. Here's a little bit of me teaching. We're just going to talk about the healthy and unhealthy pieces. Next week's assignment will be a little bit about healthy and unhealthy, and we'll go from there. So if you have questions, please ask about me, about any of my relationships, or if I ask a question, please answer them. I'd like to see some answers, the best I possibly can, and we'll go from there. Okay? So first things first, what is a relationship? Okay? Up here, right? Type of connection existing between people related to or having communication with each other. Okay? It's a connection. Okay? So is there a connection here, teacher to student? Is that a relationship? Yes or no? Yes. Thank you. How about student to student? Is that a relationship? Yeah. How many have siblings? People have siblings out here? Yeah. Are those relationships? Sometimes they're not very healthy ones, because you want to beat your brother or sister up, and I get it, because I have two brothers and I want to punch them every day. I'm just saying. That's how it works. I'm just kidding. We do have plenty of banter. But anyways, how about parents? Is that a relationship? Aunts, uncles? Yes. How about someone at a gas station? Is that really a relationship? You say hey to them? Not really. But understand that there's relationships out there that some people that do not know the definition where that line could be. Maybe, hey, it's an acquaintance more than a relationship. Okay, but either way, relationship is between two people. It's a connection. There's something going on. There's something happening between two people. All right, and you need to understand what healthy looks like and what unhealthy looks like. Because as freshmen, as you travel the rest of your life, you just went from elementary to middle to high school. Okay. You're going to start developing relationships that might be lifelong, that might be short-term, that might be month-long, that might be year-long. Okay? Either way, you're starting to develop what it looks like to be a relationship. So we want you to identify what healthy looks like in a relationship and what unhealthy looks like. Now, do you know that? You got a pretty good idea, but sometimes you might not identify what it looks like to be in an unhealthy relationship. Right? Some people might not know what a healthy relationship actually looks like. Okay, so we're going to talk a little about today. So now, there's some characteristics up here of a healthy relationship. Are these all the characteristics of all healthy relationships? No, there's a ton that are missing. Okay, open communication. Okay, first one, you can have a conversation openly with somebody. Okay, you can talk freely with them. All right, you can share things with them in a relationship. Okay, there's a mutual respect. Okay, there's not someone who's always, hey, I'm not going to listen to you, you're not going to listen to me. So I asked Jackson this question. So Jackson, you ready for this? Let me ask you a question. What's your favorite ice cream, Jackson? Oh my gosh, you know what mine is? You know what mine is? Chocolate peanut butter. Seriously? It's amazing. You never had it? How'd that run? What did you even say? Yeah, I didn't pay attention, right? There's no respect. I was so concerned about sharing my ice cream. I don't care about yours. I care about mine. Okay? There's not a respect there between. Okay, strawberry, that's a good thing. I like strawberry. I actually had a strawberry malt last night, as you can see. It was really good. Anyway, I'm a big chocolate peanut butter ice cream guy. Okay, but I need to listen. There needs to be respect between the two of us of what it looks like. Okay, honesty. Okay, there's got to be some honesty. You got to be able to open things up about. Okay, and I think trust goes a little bit with this too. So if I tell Owen here, because I know these guys, hockey guys, right? Understand? If I tell Owen, hey, Owen, I'm gonna tell you something honestly here. Okay, don't tell anybody. Okay, that's just between you and I. My wife and I. How old are you? 15. So my wife and I started dating when we were 15. Don't tell anybody in this class. Between us, this is a true statement. We did start dating when we were 15. We've been together for over 24 years now, so it's crazy to think about. But understand, 15 years old, we start dating. Don't tell him. And what happens if he turns around and starts telling people? Mr. He's dating since he was 15 years old. What a loser! How's that going to go for? How's that relationship going to go? Not good, right? Understand that. Does that make sense? Okay? There's got to be some honesty. I'm sharing openly with you. I'm trusting you that, hey, what I just told you, you're not telling anybody. Don't share that with anybody. Okay? If he turns around and shares things, how's that for a relationship for you? Is that healthy, unhealthy? Now, is there sometimes give and take, joking? Could be, I was joking about something, but sometimes it gets taken too far. Okay? So when you're in a relationship, you want to have honesty and you want to have that trust. Okay? You want to support each other. Okay? Addison, I love your phone case. It's a great looking phone case. I don't know what it looks like, but it's great from here. All right. As I stop my presentation there, or my actual classroom teach, I'm going to jump back in here and go back to my next part of my presentation, where I'm in the last piece here. Move this back over here. Sorry about that. Hopefully that worked out for everything. For me, it says, what changes would you make if you use this tool practice again? One thing with COVID, I feel like this lesson needs to be presented this way. We're pretty conservative at our school. We have a pretty structured environment, which, you can see me kind of my shield's up, but I keep my distance from the kids. We're supposed to be 12 feet from them. So at this point, so one of those things, I think the lecture for me was a big piece to go that route. I think without COVID, I think you can do multiple ways. You can go stations based. Where you're working in stations, talking about this, present it this way, having kids talk about it, giving them questions, growth mindset questions, fixed mindset questions to answer. You can do a partners type situation where you talk about partners, have them, maybe your partners talk about a healthy relationship to each other and then an unhealthy. I think you can do a small group project, which we've done in the past as well, and present it to the group. But for me, I got a couple here of changes. Obviously, you didn't get to see the whole lesson, but I have a couple changes I'd make. First one is how I handle silence. Me as a teacher, I struggle with an awkward silence, and it's just as a person in general. And so when I asked them the questions about how, kids, what are some, later on I said questions, what are some healthy relationship characteristics that you might think of that you could add to this? And it was quiet for a second, and I had to chime in because I couldn't wait for it. I wasn't patient. So it's one of those things that I'm working on, trying to get better. I saw through my teaching, I was able to see it. Second part is I say okay quite a bit, especially in that awkward silence. So I'm trying to get better at that. The second change I would make, I made the switch already, is how I ordered my slides. I had healthy relationships, characteristics, and then I jumped to unhealthy, and then I jumped to conflict, and then I jumped back to how to maintain healthy relationships. I got to put those together, and that's what I ended up doing in the slide presentation. Last change I thought is one thing that I don't want to throw too much on kids. We talk about tools for solving conflict at the end of this presentation, and it's one of those things that I think that I give kids some tools. We talk about mediation, we talk about compromise, negotiating, having empathy for other people. Like, I think throwing mediation at them or throwing those things are sometimes can be too much for them, and I could maybe break it up a little more where I'm slowly introducing different ways we can handle these things. So either way, those are some adjustments I would make. And this is my presentation. I hope you enjoyed. Please look forward to seeing some of your responses. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend, everybody.